Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Greetings on International Day of Yoga comes with our focus moving towards some of the challenges that we are facing currently. But right now, while we will be talking about how yoga means finding a sense of balance, and that is also related to balance in all the elements, and fire being one of them. So, what we did is, while I introduce you to my panelists. Today we'll be talking about dealing with fire yogic way and Agnipath. And I first bring Major Dr. Mohommad Ali Shah. Namaskar, welcome. Jai Hind. Jai.
Thank you, Jai Hind, Doctor. Thank you very much for inviting me over.
And we actually have two doctors, and I'm not doctor, but they end up referring me also as a doctor, but I take it as a compliment. So, and and Major, before we jump towards our theme of the day, I am delighted to share with our viewers that you are a record breaker as a public speaker also, and you probably were invited maximum number of times to give TED talks. So let us begin with Dheeraj's permission to see what were the main themes that you were speaking about during your TED talks.
Well, there are a lot of things that I speak about. A lot of people talk about their success stories. I take pride in sharing my failure stories. I I speak very proudly of my failures. Actually, you would not hear of anyone speaking very proudly of his failures. But what is important is, despite failing, I never gave up. I rose from those failures, and those failures helped me become what I am today. So my take on failure is FAIL is stands for first attempt in learning. When you hear no as an answer, thank you. When you hear no as an answer, it is next opportunity. When you hear end as an answer, oh, the world has ended. It is an endeavor or an effort never dies. So basically, I specialize in converting darkness into light, fear into bravery, liabilities into assets, negatives into minus, weaknesses into strengths. So basically, I help people to empower themselves. And Dr. Saab, I've had the honor of, when I said Dr. Saab, I meant Dr. Ashok Vyas and Dr.
I just, okay, okay. So I will also go to some university to get a doctorate degree soon. I will study and
because,
submit. Yes.
because Dr. Dheeraj introduced me to you as Dr. Ashok Vyas. So I saved your number also as Dr. Ashok
Uh,
Vyas. So it's there.
Perfect, perfect. So let me interrupt you and I'll come back to this theme. But as Dr. Dheeraj and me, we are going to be also talking about Agnipath scheme. And while you gave us the full form of the acronym FAIL, first attempt in learning. Now, Dheeraj ji, do you feel that government of India is not learning the art of communicating properly, which has resulted into, if I use the term fiasco, in the form of us looking at images of burning train. There was a movie by that name, but now it is a very serious concern for people how we should proactively look and succeed and not not fail. So your take quickly, and then we'll also have from Major Saab something about the International Day of Yoga.
Namaskar. Thank you for having me on the show, and what a pleasure to share the stage with Major Saab, Major Mohommad, who's such a great person and a very good motivational speaker. I would like to congratulate everybody with International Yoga Day. As you know, yoga is the science of enlightening your body, your soul, and making it aligned. Because health is the first step towards success. So if you're healthy, you can do rest. Everything is achievable. Having said that, the question you're asking about whether government of India could have done a better job communicating to people, I want to agree with what you're saying, but you have to understand, in the entire scheme of things, there is a lot of uncertainty on the ground. Yes, you can improve, but you cannot come with a final product on exactly the way it is supposed to be. It's a thing in progress, and I'm very happy to see how changes are continuously being made. after listening to the concerns of the people. And that's what a vibrant democracy is all about. Because you can think one thing is best, but it's for the people, and they give it to you that, okay, improve it, what we can do. And it's beautiful how they are interacting and improving. So yes, there could be a better way to communicate and get their feedbacks before to launching, but it's already done. It's a beautiful thing.
So, Major Saab, while Dr. Dheeraj was talking about the flexibility part of government to modify its scheme, as someone who looks at the positive side of everything, but Major Saab, you would also agree that sometimes flexibility leads to a sense of uncertainty, and that may also prove uh, to be weakness of the government. So, and also it shows the kind of image that you have not prepared well. So, your take on whether it is positive or not so positive.
No, you are right. See, firstly, I would like to, I'm on the same page as Dr. Dheeraj Kaul that this Agnipath scheme is actually very good. You talk about nations like Israel, Singapore, Korea, where there is a compulsory stint in the army for a couple of years. It makes them better citizens, disciplined citizens, and better human beings, basically. And everybody will agree with me. And with all due respect to my fellow countrymen, it is, yes, we all are very proud Indians, but we all have to agree one thing. It's not just in India, but world over, as individuals, as human beings, we all lack in discipline. Many of us are not disciplined. We take discipline to be for granted. We do other activities without being disciplined. For example, if I'm a diabetic, I will refrain from eating sugar, sweets, but I would still want to eat sugar. I would still want to have an aerated drink. For example, if I say I will start exercising from tomorrow, I will keep procrastinating and that tomorrow will never come. It's been 10 years. So we are not disciplined. So I believe we really need a dose of discipline. Now, how will that dose of discipline come? Of course, one way is the armed forces. You see, anybody from the armed forces is very disciplined, very punctual. His values, integrity, honesty, working in a stressful environment, it really does you a lot of good. I'll give you example. Why only corporate job? I'll give you example of creativity in Hollywood, which we all would be familiar with. Clint Eastwood. We enjoy watching his movies. He was a soldier in the army. We talk about Elvis Presley, who every the girls are, they still swoon over him. He was a soldier in the army. So, in any case, if you do go on to further studies, you do law, it takes 5 years. You do engineering, it takes 4 years. You do MBBS, medicine, it takes 4 years. You do BDS, it takes 4 years. So why not the armed forces? It equips you and prepares you to face any eventuality, any challenge for the rest of your life. They say join the army for a few years, be a winner for life. I say army man always wins. So when you go through, and mind you, this stint, Agnipath, is not even compulsory. It's optional for motivated people who want to do something different in life, who want to live a life less extraordinary. Though everyone is doing their service to the country, everyone. I will not say that only an army personnel is serving the country. Everyone is serving the country in their own ways and means. A media person is serving the country, a doctor serving the country, a teacher serving, even a person who works in a municipality is serving the country in his own way. But if you want to live a life extraordinary, if you want adventure, because army is not a job. When I say army, I mean army, navy, air force, the defense forces. The defense forces is not a job. It is a way of life. It is something. I'll give you a small example, Mr. Vyas. This time I didn't say Dr. Vyas, I said Mr. Vyas. Okay. So when I say me, I don't say me individually. I mean on behalf of my peers, my counterparts, my immediate seniors, my junior, my classmates, right? And because of a similar story with them as well. So in my case, I was working with Genpact, American company in Gurgaon, one of the leading multinational companies in the world. I was highly motivated to join the army. As I told you, I talk very proudly about my failure stories. So I was always motivated to join the army right from my school. So after my class 12th, I appeared for the ND exam, the National Defense Academy. I failed in the entrance test. I was disheartened. I did NCC in college. I tried once again after graduation, the Short Service Commission. So they say whatever happens, happens for its own good, for the best. So ND would have been permanent commission, and now I realized after doing NCC, I should try for at least the Short Service Commission, which is of 5 years in the army. So I signed up only to do 5 years with a clear conscious mind that I will come for 5 years. I will not get pension after 5 years. I may not get many benefits, but I would have been equipped with a lot of life skills which will hold me in good stead all my life. And it's a misnomer, it's a misconception that an army man only holds a weapon and runs in the field. No, 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 no. That is not the case. Army trained you in everything. There's not a single thing which an army man cannot do, basically. So by the time I filled my form in my third year of college, and by the time I joined, like there's a procedure. There is you fill your form, you get a call for entrance test, the results come out, you go for your SSB, Service Selection Board, the interview, and by the time you join, it takes about a year and a half. So in that interim period, I joined this call center and I resigned. I was on a very lucrative package, a very handsome salary. Not just me, many people like me, in fact, who come for Short Service Commission, they resign from the jobs, the lucrative jobs. They join the Short Service Commission because not for a job they already had, right? Because they were motivated, they wanted to live a life less ordinary. So we joined the Short Service Commission. We trained for 11 months, and now my first posting was 30 meters away from the border, Indo-Pak border, in the year 2003, when there was no ceasefire between both the countries, mind you. So there was a lot of tension, a lot of stress at that time. Every day there was firing from across the border and retaliatory fire, and that continued. And we were in a place where more than the bullets, more than the enemy fire, the biggest danger was the conditions we were living in. In that jungle area, we would use mosquito nets, not to protect ourselves from mosquitoes only, but there were cobras, there were pythons, there were scorpions. We would be protected by the wild animals and insects which were there in the forest. So there was more danger from them actually at that time. So anyhow, so I am proud. For 2 years I was at the Indo-Pak border, 3 years in the Northeast. We established peace in the Northeast, and the army gave me a course at a Premier B school like the IIM Calcutta, which is like the Oxford or the Cambridge or Harvard or Wharton of the West. So I went to IIM Calcutta, and now anxiety set in after 4.5 years of service. Now I'm leaving the army. What will I do now? I means all of us who had signed up for 5 years. Now what would we do now? So just when the caterpillar thought it is the end of the world, it transformed into a beautiful butterfly. So same thing with us. Thank you. So same thing with us. So we, after our course at IIM, we all, recession had set in. The year 2008, if you remember, the whole economy, the entire world was badly hit by recession. There were no companies coming on IIM campus for recruitment itself, so you can imagine the plight of other B schools. But let me tell you, because we were army men, there was demand for us. The corporates perceived us as, okay, he's an army man, he will be more disciplined, punctual, integrity, moral values. So he would possess those qualities. If two people come to you, Mr. Vyas or Dr. Kaul, and both are of the same qualification, same ability, same skill set, same attitude, one has served in the army, other has not served in the army. Both are at par. Who would you choose? You would obviously choose the person who's come from the defense background. So we all got placed on campus with a minimum of 3 offer letters in a pocket and a minimum salary of a 6-digit figure. That was the least that the officer got placed. Now, this was the case of officers. I worked with Mahindra and Mahindra. The Mahindra group of companies came forward yesterday that they will hire Agniveers. So
Yes.
now let me tell you about the soldiers, the Jawans. I gave you the example of Hollywood actors. The biggest entrepreneurs are from the defense background. So a person who would train for 6 months as a soldier, 4 years in service, where else will you get a job at the age of 17? And it is a quite lucrative package if you see. For a 17-year-old boy earning that kind of money and the experience, he would be equipped with knowledge, skills. So they say if you have to make a building, you have to first make the foundation strong. Without making a strong foundation, you cannot expect to have a big building, right? So the foundation would be so strong because of the military training that the person would be ready to face any challenge for the rest of their life. Now, I do not understand when the protest broke out, why such a good scheme? It's a dream scheme, actually, which anybody would really die to go in for. What are
Okay.
they
So,
protesting
yeah.
about?
So let
Yes,
me
please.
interrupt you.
Please.
I think you are different than many people in many ways, and one of them, as you said earlier, you look at life with positive mindset, which probably Dr. Dheeraj is not the case with many people, and probably some people get incited by some other people, or they don't think uh, it through and start following those who take them along on some violent protest spree, or because we have seen this erupting in so many states, which is shocking. Now, some rough estimate, someone was saying it is running into thousands of crores of loss for the exchequer by the kind of protest which have happened after this Agnipath scheme was announced. Now, somehow we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to connect with the spirit of International Day of Yoga with the way people reacted. So, yoga has many ways of uh, being defined, but one of them also takes us to finding inner poise and inner balance, evenness of mind, as they say. Uh, so, India got recognition world over, a very good image. So, that is also now referred to as soft power. Would you say this year, the way situations are in India, three back to back protests leading to different disturbing images uh, capturing the headlines of newspapers day after day, do you think there is a possibility of some positive way of perceiving situations, uh, maybe from the seed of this International Day of Yoga?
Yeah, I think yoga adds only but positivity to you, to as a human being. And see, yoga is not only to tone your muscles because it's stretching and extension. It also helps with the joint mobility. That's physical. But it also helps with your mind to get rid of negativity, and watching your breath, which is concentration, increases your focus, increases your improves your metabolic rate. So you can live longer. Your oxidant stress goes down. It exercises your lungs, heart, and most of the vital organs, and you increase the perfusion blood supply. I have studied this medically, how it affects your different organs. That's a different conversation altogether. But yes, you're absolutely right. Yoga day will infuse positivity to the current environment. And like Major Saab is he's trained management guy, so he understands 2008 recession he was talking about. Currently we are inching every day towards recession, which is going to be equally or deeper than 2008 according to the current global macroeconomical situation and geopolitics. So the times are very, very hard, like you rightly said. This is the time to stand behind your leader, behind your nation in constructive efforts instead of destroying public property. Peaceful protest. You can bring your suggestions, which Army has welcomed, and they have taken it. I have never seen any big organization like Indian Army, such a disciplined organization, so sensitive to people's genuine demands, and it's improving. You see, no devta or god is bringing a scheme. It's humans like you and me. They have to interact and improve. That's the beauty of democracy, which they are. I don't think this should be taken as a sign of weakness, but because economics, you cannot ignore it. Emotion and everything is good. World is going through recession. Let me explain this to everybody. Second thing, India is the third largest spender on army. 550 crores, 74 billion dollars. Out of that, 50% goes in salary and pension. We need to make our army more modern. What will we have to do? Get more money. There is no money left. Entire economies of the world are crashing. So you have to budget. And it is very important to modernize Indian army. We have two active enemies, active borders since independence, China and Pakistan. We need to equip it. We need to save human lives. We need to have a better armor, drone technology. All these people coming out will have technical skills which will launch them in World 2.0. So these are very important, but people try to confuse these students. I feel very bad for them. I think a debate needs to happen to explain them the right way.
So, in
Correct.
order for a right way of explanation, we need patience. Like when you said, let me finish my point, I remain quiet. But that is not the case in the parties which are reacting in a way that is resulting into India on fire at several places. Now, very important question for you, Major Dr. Mohammed Ali Shah Sahab, because you are a management guy, you have also seen army, you are also hearing different kinds of arguments, some coming from those who have been in the army are not also not in agreement with you, and of course there is a number of youth which is also not in sync with the way you are looking at it. So what is happening is we are actually dealing with fire on several fronts. If you were advisor to Prime Minister of India, Home Minister of India, as well as you had years of Chief of Army, Navy, and Air Force of India. What would be your advice? Not just the arguments in favor of their decision, but the question is they are going ahead with this scheme, and we still have disgruntled, frustrated youth on the street. So, how would you find a harmonious resolve to this?
A very good question by you, Dr. Mr. Vyas. I almost said Dr. Vyas. Okay, Mr. Vyas, and very intelligent question. And through your question and through your channel, I would be able to answer a lot of minds because you've got the pulse absolutely bang on. This would be the same question which would be arising in everyone's mind who is concerned about the new scheme. Now, I'll tell you an anecdote. Day before yesterday, I got 10 calls from 10 seniors of mine from the army, 10 veterans. They called me up and they lovingly fired me up on the phone, put my ear on the phone, lovingly. They said, we heard you speak on television and you are speaking for the scheme. I said, yes, sir, very much. I am thoroughly convinced and I genuinely do believe in it. I believe it will do our country a lot of good. It will do our organization a lot of good. It will do our youth a lot of good. So there's a win-win for everyone. I don't see a single loophole or a single modification or a single place where it's lacking. So they gave me 10 points how it will harm our organization, how it will be detrimental to our organization, to our country, to our national security, to the youth for their future and such things. I heard them very patiently. Once they were done with the 10 points, sir, I gave them 20 points. How it will benefit our country, how it will benefit our organization. We owe our loyalty to the organization. How it will benefit the youth of our country, how it will empower them, how it will prepare them with life skills, which will help them launch, as Dr. Dheeraj rightly said, which will help them launch themselves in the outside world. And let me tell you, Mr. Vyas, at the end of our conversation, my 20 points were, which means I countered the 10 points individually, one by one, with facts, with logic, not out of emotion only, but with logic. And thereafter, I put forward my 10 points. And they couldn't counter that. Rather, they were convinced.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. We just have few minutes, and my question is slightly different. I say they were convinced. Let's say I am convinced, but the situation that we are facing right now, and we need to deal with fire on the street also. What it might involve a little bit of political angle, but still, as a citizen of India, when you are interacting with leaders, as well as chief of army, and what would be your advice? So army is going ahead basically. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we must go ahead with it. And it is nothing but why these protests are happening, I will tell you. It's basically not because the scheme is bad or people disagree with it. It is because of an communication error. There has been a problem in communicating it. Like when I sit on TV debates, I tell them, listen, I will not shout, I will not scream, I will not debate, I will not argue. I am here to explain to people's minds. And by debating, by arguing, by danda, I will not end up convincing anyone. I can shut him up. I can shut up the protester by means of law or by lathi charge. But I will not be able to convince them unless the conviction is from here, the belief is from here. The protest will go on in the mind then. So the idea is not to give them danda. The idea is to make them understand. And how will that happen? That will happen through communication
Okay.
in any
So
relationship.
yeah. So since we just have 2 minutes, I want both of you to weigh on India's preparedness, not just in facing external threats, but internal threats. Any ray of hope that you see, because we are having back-to-back protests and a lot of things which are a cause of concern even while you're not in India about India. Dheeraj, in 30 seconds, you see any hope in near future?
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Sorry.
definitely. I see a lot of hope. The only thing is, government is as good as people are supporting it. So people have to realize they cannot burn their future. This is the future of kids and their grandkids. Public property, if you destroy, this is not going to come back because there is a financial crunch globally. People don't understand how much it costs to make a train. It's very easy to burn it.
You made a very good point. People need to understand. And Major Saab, we don't see people responding responsibly now what to do, and you still see some ray of hope.
I certainly see a ray of hope because I believe when a youngster like me could convince veterans with over 40 years of service, after 40 years of service, how rigid you get, who are not willing, who have the fixed thoughts, who are not willing to understand. And if I, being a youngster, can make them understand, I see no reason why anybody else cannot make them understand. And also, one more thing, I would like to say we have a very strong Prime Minister in India who has exceptional communication skills. He connects with people and people listen to him. He connects with the highest rung to the lowest rung. Now, despite being a prime minister who has such exceptional communication skills, why is it that his people, his party, his government has not been able to disseminate the point to the lowest level? Why is it that they have not been able to communicate to the people that, listen, youngsters, this whole scheme is for your own good. It is meant to empower you.
Significance of hope can never be undermined. And I'm really hopeful after talking to both of you that maybe with some hiccups, we are moving in the right direction. And I applaud Major Saab for your wonderful communication and skills as well as positive way of embracing life. Dr. Dheeraj, thank you very much for joining us as well as connecting us with Major
Yes, sir.
Dr. Mohommad Ali Shah.
Jai Hind.
And Jai Hind. And once again, on this day of International Day of Yoga, as I thank my panelists with this image from last year's International Day of Yoga celebration in New York, lots and lots of good wishes for the peace and harmony in the world. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.